I'm Claudia Catania, and you're listening to Playing on Air. You are about to hear A Little Part of All of Us by Jesse Eisenberg. It features Justin Bartha and Jesse Eisenberg. We're in a Starbucks. Joey and Ted, two men in their 20s, sit across from one another at a table. Ted texts on his iPhone.
I had a bit of a breakthrough yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
You know how I've been down for a while?
Down?
Yeah, I've been sad, kind of, depressed for a long time.
Huh.
Yeah, I've discussed this.
With me?
Yes, with you. Anyway, I've been reading a series of articles by this therapist who did a lot of work post 9/11.
Okay, sure.
Are you listening to me?
Every word.
Oh, because you're kind of just looking at your telephone, really.
I actually pay better attention looking at the phone than if I was looking right at you.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
Out of guilt, I force myself to focus more. And also, I'm not distracted by your facial expressions.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know I was making so many.
That's okay, man. Go on.
All right, so right after 9/11, this therapist was mostly treating people who escaped the buildings, mostly businessmen who'd been traumatized. But he said that in the past few years, since we've crossed the 10-year mark, he found that he was treating more and more patients who hadn't even been in the buildings at all.
Like the firefighters.
What? No, they were in the buildings. I mean, people like me and you.
No, I'm fine.
Sure, you're fine, but somehow I think it got to me.
Weren't you in Connecticut on 9/11?
Yes.
So how did it affect you? It couldn't have affected you.
On the contrary, I think I have some kind of, survivor's guilt.
Like the Holocaust?
Well, kind of, yeah.
I don't think that would happen to you.
I think it did. I mean, how do you explain the being down then? I've had a terrible decade almost. Don't you remember me in college? So funny and productive. I never thought I could trace it back to 9/11, but when I started to analyze everything, to really try and pinpoint my problems, to attribute them to something instead of just my own stupid self, it seems like they kind of started around September the 11th. Do you know that I cry?
You mean in general?
Yeah. I cry sometimes for no reason. I just start tearing up without even realizing it. I was at the Kinko's the other day on Peterson, and I just started crying. You know, because they teamed up with FedEx recently, and I guess I started crying for both companies who maybe felt like they couldn't sustain themselves alone.
That's kind of disturbing.
Exactly. Oh, God, it feels so good to get this off my chest. Thank you, Ted. Thank you for just listening to me.
My mom's friend Albert was supposed to be in one of the buildings that day. The guy lives in Jersey, just over the bridge, about a half hour from the World Trade Center, and he ran some hedge fund thing on one of the top floors. Did I tell you this? Anyway, he leaves his house, he's in his driveway, and he hears the phone ringing inside the house. I swear he's at his car, the door open, and he hears the telephone ringing. He decides, he gets a feeling, that he should go back in and answer it. Crazy, right? So he runs back inside, and it's his daughter on the phone calling from college. She just broke up with her boyfriend, she's hysterical, and Albert stays on the phone for a half an hour with her. So he's running a half hour late to work, right? Anyway, as he's nearing the city, traffic is stopped dead. The planes have just hit, and he's watching from the bridge. That phone call saved his life. He would have been in Tower 1, the South Tower. No, the North one.
Jesus, that's really great. And I could relate because we're probably experiencing some of the same symptoms, Albert and myself.
You think so?
Probably. Think about it. We were both not there, both traumatized in our own distanced way. Albert watching from the bridge, me watching on television, paralyzed with an inability to do anything.
Well, Albert was stuck in traffic.
Because I've had this feeling of emptiness, this feeling like I lost something that I didn't even have in the first place. And all the guilt that's tied into not having the thing I feel like I never had to lose, It makes sense.
All of Albert's friends and co-workers were killed.
It was an awful day for all of us.
Killed by the plane hitting the building. Not even like when the building came down.
Wow.
They were right on the floor when the plane hit. They probably saw it coming toward them. They probably see planes all the time because they're so high up, but this one was probably a little different, a little lower, so they probably heard it a few seconds before it hit. Because of the G-force or whatever, so maybe they looked out the window, looked out the window to see what's up, and then saw that's what's up, and then being hit by a plane? Could you imagine?
All the time.
And how close the actual terrorists, the actual guys flying the plane, were to the people looking out their windows. They were, at one point before it hit, probably a few feet away, under 10 feet.
Sure, most likely.
And I keep thinking about how the passengers from the plane were probably probably flung forward, and maybe they hit the bodies of the terrorists in the cockpit, or maybe they even hit the people working inside the office, and maybe the terrorists got to see what the corner office of Albert's company looked like. Maybe they even saw that Albert was not in his office. Probably not, but maybe, maybe they were disappointed that the office was empty and that they weren't able to kill the man who works in the corner office. Maybe their last emotion was just maybe disappointment.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry you're so haunted by this.
Haunted?
I'm sorry your imagination is like imposing these images onto you. You shouldn't feel burdened by them.
I was talking about Albert.
Sure you were. The therapist says that the imagination is a devil and the rational mind is kind of like an angel, and they're in a constant battle for man's psyche. And that my imagination, well, not mine specifically, but that my imagination has told me to feel guilt about 9/11, to assume the guilt of the suffering survivors. My rational mind, of course, tells me to move on, that it's not my burden to shoulder.
My mom said that Albert told his wife that while he was stuck in traffic on the bridge, he could see his colleagues jumping out of the building. He swore he recognized his secretary, Cynthia, leaping to her death.
In a way, we all took a leap that day.
But the George Washington Bridge is on 180th Street, and the World Trade Center is like all the way downtown. So obviously, didn't happen.
The whole thing is devastating.
Freaky.
So anyway, if I've been a burden on you, which I'm sure I have, a downer, a total donkey, that will soon end. I'm going to work on this thing, and I will be fun again. Things will be like they were before 9/11/01.
Okay. I mean, I always thought you were just depressed about Debbie.
Whoa, why would I be depressed about Debbie? Debbie is a great human being.
Oh, well, since she got married?
She didn't get married. Whoa.
Oh, I thought she married Dave.
But she didn't marry him. Dave, she's barely engaged.
Oh, I thought she was married.
Not at all. Wow, man. Fact check. Jesus, now I'm laughing.
Well, I guess I just assumed that they would have been married by now. One sec. Hello? No, I'm down. Sure. All right, see you in 15 minutes. Sorry, I was saying I just assumed that they would have been married. Dave's a pretty cool guy, and Debbie and him are like so perfect together. They even look like each other.
That guy is a fake, phony idiot who should die, and he knows it.
Whoa.
Wait, did you just make plans to meet someone in 15 minutes?
Yeah, that was Armstrong.
And you're meeting him in 15 minutes? Oh, because I thought I kind of wanted to get your advice.
About your 9/11 trauma?
Well, yes, but don't demean it.
I'm not demeaning it.
You are by calling it trauma like that.
You called it trauma.
Yeah, but you said 9/11 trauma like it was deodorant or something.
So what should I call it?
I don't know. I mean, maybe we can call it that. I don't know. It was your tone. My point was, what I wanted to tell you was, I'm sorry, could you just please look at me for a minute? I'm not saying you're being rude by staring at the phone. I understand you think you can pay attention, but I guess it's just distracting for me. For me not to see you reacting to everything I say is a little weird. It feels like I'm talking into the air.
Sure. What's on your mind?
Okay, thank you. Okay. I was just saying that I finally feel relief, but Dr. Yushchenko says that a support group is a must, a group of no less than 3 committed individuals.
Who's Dr. Yushchenko?
The therapist I've been talking about.
Yeah.
Obviously.
No, that's okay. You just didn't really introduce him properly.
Well, obviously it's him. In the context of this discussion, of course it's going to be him. Jesus.
Sorry.
It's fine, but anyway, so do you want to be on my support group?
Do I want to?
My mom and sister have agreed. They are on board.
What do I have to do?
It's just about supporting me, picking up the phone whenever I call, just checking in a little more than usual. Generally just putting up with my baggage, but with the knowledge that your friend is coming back soon.
What's the time commitment?
Oh, Yushchenko didn't specify.
Okay, maybe.
So where are you meeting Armstrong?
Buffalo Drive-In?
The BDI. You should probably get going.
I'm usually late.
Even so. So anyway, yeah, is that an iPhone?
Affirmative.
When did you get this? You didn't tell me you were getting an iPhone.
Huh, I thought I mentioned it.
It's light. Wow.
Yep, 32 gigs.
32 and still so small. Tell Armstrong I said hi.
He doesn't know you.
Really? I thought we've met.
No, I just talk about him a lot, so you think you know him.
Weird. Well, maybe one day you'll introduce us for real.
Maybe. He kind of doesn't like new people that much, though.
Oh, sure.
I'll see you around, man.
Right. Peace. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You just heard A Little Part of All of Us by Jesse Eisenberg. It featured Justin Bartha as Ted and Jesse Eisenberg as Joey. Thank you for joining us. We have Jesse Eisenberg, the author of A Little Part of All of Us, as well as one of its actors, and Justin Bartha, who played Ted. So almost 12 years later, 9/11 still touches a raw nerve. What made you decide to tackle it from this angle, Jesse?
Probably kind of just at a jab at myself for trying to attribute like my own personal problems to something bigger and to give myself some kind of reason to be depressed. I don't use September 11th, but I was kind of extrapolating the feeling I had to its nth degree and thinking, well, what if somebody is depressed about a relationship breaking up and that woman marrying somebody else, but he decides to attribute it to the most historically significant world tragedy or national tragedy that's occurred.
How did you arrive at the title, A Little Part of All of Us?
Because that phrase is often used sincerely to say that we were all affected by something, but it refers very specifically to these guys because they're not paying attention to each other and they're only giving each other a very little part of each other. And so it's kind of meant ironically.
Do you think the tendency to co-opt massive tragedies as one's own is a particularly modern one?
Probably not. Probably people were saying, like, I'm just depressed because of the Black Plague sweeping across Europe. I hear it's in Istanbul now, and I haven't been able to sleep in weeks. Probably not. I mean, it's a natural, well, I don't know, maybe, but it's probably, it's the tendency to deflect personal responsibility.
But when they said weeks, they would wheeze. They would go, weeks! And then the person listening would back up a little bit.
Yeah, and just count the lesions.
Did you have in mind the Supreme Court ruling that corporations are the same as individuals in the section where Joey personifies them and is concerned about their feelings?
Finally, somebody realized that this was a skewering of the Supreme Court decision. No, I wrote this before that decision, so no, I didn't have it in mind. But no, I mean, it's just like, again, another way to deflect blame, to say, like, I was crying because Kinko's joined with FedEx and that somehow seems real to him. But of course, to an outsider, it sounds absurd and narcissistic and self-indulgent.
In the UK, London is the center for both the theater and the film worlds, whereas here there's a huge geographical divide. What's the difference between the LA and the New York mindset, if any, in your minds?
Well, I mean, Los Angeles is more of a one-industry town, so you're surrounded by people who all kind of are on the inside. Even if they're not involved in the movies, they just know a lot more about them or the entertainment industry in general. And in New York, you're surrounded by a million different industries, most of which are more powerful and explicit and present than the entertainment industry. Wall Street, advertising, these are all much more known industries in New York, so you're surrounded by, different groups here.
Yeah, you're more easily distracted. It depends on what kind of person you are, but you're more easily distracted in Los Angeles because of that very reason that everyone seems to be discussing that one industry. So it's sometimes hard to concentrate on what's in front of you because you keep on hearing vaguely familiar terminology or people's names that you know of, and sometimes it makes you feel even more narcissistic and self-involved because you can't help but think, oh, I know, I read DeadlineHollywood.com, I know that fact. And then in New York, people don't generally talk about the film industry, so it's easier to have kind of a more well-rounded life, I think.
Jesse, you started acting quite young.
No, I mean, the first movie I was in, I was 18, but I did theater when I was very young, and now that I'm older, it can be like a discouraging business, I guess, like any other business probably, but it's like pretty straightforward, and I like doing the things that I do, and I kind of focus on just being productive and not feeling like I'm in some kind of complicated industry that I have to manipulate or think about it in a calculated way.
You worked with Woody Allen in To Rome with Love, and you're both artists who write and perform their work. Mm-hmm. Do you consider him a mentor of sorts? What's he like to work with?
He's great to be in the same room as. When I was on a set with him, it felt to me like my friend put it, an interesting way. It's like going to a concert of your favorite band. Just to hear the sound live is really exciting, even if they're not playing all the songs that you know. And that's what it felt like. And he is, I would say, been inspiring to me. I can't say he's like a direct mentor to me. He saw the play that I'm currently doing now, and he sent me a nice note, but it's not like we get together and he, gives me, comments or anything like that. But he's been maybe unknowingly a mentor, in that I've, read everything he's written and watched his movies, and I really like him. I'm also doing something a little different. I don't try to think of what he would do and then copy it. My plays are very different than what he writes. His stuff is a lot better, but it's different in tone and style. So I really love him, but when I kind of sit down to write something, it gets filtered through my own personality, which I think deviates.
Of course. Well, I want to thank you for staying with us.
Thank you.
It's been great.
Thanks a lot.
Wonderful play. And the play you were referring to was The Revisionist. Mm-hmm. I highly recommend it.
Oh, thanks a lot.
We've been talking with Jesse Eisenberg, the author of A Little Part of All of Us, and Justin Bartha, who played Ted. Thank you so much for both coming in.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Playing on Air, great American short plays with great American actors. Original music by Tom Cochan. Recording and sound design for A Very, Very Short Play and Happy Birthday, Mr. Abernathy by Suze Dyer of Phantom Audio. Recording and sound design for A Little Part of All of Us by John Kilgore. Visit us on Facebook or on the web at playingonair.org. For Playing on Air, I'm Claudia Catania.